Hello folks, Bulletproof here. Today I would like to continue reviewing the new sets Amonkhet for mainly for standard, but I'll touch on limited as well. And yeah, during the past week, a lot of cards have been revealed, and I think soon in the matter of a week or so, I suppose we're gonna have the full spoiler. Or was it like, okay, so right now we have how many, okay, kind of like half of the set. But since last time I reviewed, so about 50 more have been spoiled, and I don't want to make super gigantic review tape, so that's why let's actually do this now for the stuff that have been revealed in the past week. And yeah, so I'm recording this on 9th of April, and I suppose maximum in 2 weeks, so 1 week before the official pre-release, we're gonna see the entire set. But before that, let's see what other new toys we got. Basically, Gideon is insane, so I would quickly say that. And not only it's insane, uh, it kind of fits in pretty decently into Mardu vehicles, and then you can just abuse the Heart of Kirin even further on. Uh, what else? It's also good news for post rotation. So the second set of this block, and when the new block comes in, and then we lose Zendikar plus Innistrad. So we're still gonna have a Gideon for Mardu vehicles. So that's good, but that's gonna be in a few months. So let's not worry too much about that. But for now, we'll get to play with two Gideons in our Mardu deck, and that's pretty nutty. So now, I don't know, maybe you can justify playing just red-white, but I don't think so, because you lose a lot of like cool sideboard cards, and also Disintegration is just so insane. It's like one of the better cards in Standard, still, I believe, and probably even after this set. Um, so I don't think I talked last time about the blue and red guts that much, but in case I did, I would just anyway like to add just a few more things. Think of the blue gut as just a good win condition for the cycling deck, because, well, I think it basically fits into that deck uh, in the most organic way, let's put it this way. I think I've said something about it. Probably there's been said a lot about it. I do like this card. It's probably gonna be really hard to make it work, but I would love to see it. I think it's a bit overpowered, but right now the metagame is so fast. However, you have the vehicles or the Sahili combo, so luckily there is some balance. New Lily, well, what can I say? 5 mana is a bit rough. Um, 4 would be much better, but then Ultimate is pretty ridiculous, and then, well, it defends herself, then it helps to, uh, get some value out of it. So basically, she generates value, kind of like drawing cards in a way. So that point is checked, and then the ultimate is actually relevant, and then she starts at pretty high loyalty count. 5 mana is a lot, but then again, Obnixilis has been seen play, and Nisa at 5 mana also been seen play, so I think it's actually pretty good. And then people been pointing out that the second ability of her lets you rebuy the blue hulks or the green hulks in black green, so she would be pretty insane in black green decks. Out of the sideboards, basically on the power level of just imagine in black green your sideboard and then Nisa against slow decks. So that's probably the type of impact this new Lily will generate. I really like it. I think it's not just good, I think it's on a above average power level. And the second build is just gives potential for so many ridiculous things. Yeah, Red God we'll have to see. So if you actually get to activate her pretty quickly, then that's pretty sick, like 5-4 haste at 4, that's kinda sick. So you have to dump your hand pretty quickly. But I guess with Reunion and some Madness activators, some discard spells, it's actually good. So she also helps those kind of budget black-red decks, but also non-budget versions of black-red pretty good. So yeah, Champion of Fronters. Well, let's just put it this way. I love the card. I think it's quite balanced because at least for the moment right now, you can't just dawdle around for so many turns in Standard. Um, but yeah, if you have decent answers to the Sahili combo and you won't lose too much tempo against Mardu, then maybe you can justify because this thing kind of fits in rather decently into some sort of teamwork energy with Marvels in it. So that means that in addition to the Serranas, you get Marvel to put in or cast your Ulamogs and stuff like that. But then again, outside of Ulamog, whatever beefy stuff you're gonna put into play, well, that's a question mark. And then again, the Harness Lightning is a big bump for this card to actually see enough of competitive constructed play. So we'll see. I love the card. I don't think it will be too ridiculous. People will love it. And yeah, you have to keep in mind that not all the cards are made for standard or modern, so some cards are basically designed with Commander in mind. Like this Reality the Black or in the middle, I'm pretty sure this is just for Commander. The card is pretty sick, and yeah, it's designed with Commander in mind. And then what? Well, as for Toll, this blue enchantment is kind of interesting, has some potential. Um, I don't know, we'll have to see. I think it's kind of balanced just because it needs a lot of time to kind of set it off. So that's why I don't think it's a threat for standard. This Angel of Sanctions, on the other hand, that's a very busted card. Um, Luckily, it doesn't have flash. I like the fact that it's 4 toughness at least. What I don't like is that it's a free 4, so let's say you hide away as a healer with it, then with Harness Lightning or something, they shoot it down, gets a healer back. Then, or let's just say that you hide something, then they play, so what I meant to say, you hide something relevant, they play as a healer, they plus it, and then you can't kill Sahili out of 4 with this angel, so that's a problem, I think. Embalm is pretty crucial in this card, so yeah, I guess at 4 power it will be kind of too ridiculous, so yeah. But the card is definitely busted, and if you have ways to protect it, like, I don't know, this spell comes in mind, but then what else we got? Anything chip that protects it, I don't know, Selfless Spirit, things like that, then that's pretty sick. So I think the card is, in a way, almost on the power level of Archangel Avacyn, so yeah. Covet Celebrant, well, if you set it off, it's pretty sick, but then again, at 3 mana, you have a 1 toughness guy, so that's kind of a bummer. Yeah. But then again, if you play it, let's say, in red-white human stacks, so with always watching and delay tenant, it's actually gonna get rather large, so it can kind of like block when you cast it as well. So yeah, well, we'll see. So if it's not gonna be played in red-white humans, I don't know where it's gonna see play. There could be some ridiculous red deck wins, almost a mono red deck, but I don't know whether it will be a serious contender in the format. Cerebral parts, well, yeah, I talked about this before. A few words about trials and cartouche auras. Well, pretty sweet and limited. I love the fact that you kind of get this opportunity to, you know, kind of combo-ish, kind of go off, like have a very sweet deck and limited. Uh, but then for constructed, it's hard to say. So the trials are actually pretty good, but cartouche are a little bit underwhelming. So you actually have to play a lot of, I mean, decent amount of creatures in your deck. Well, you get some with the white cartouche and with the green trials, so you get some creatures out of the enchantments themselves, but then again, I don't know. And also, if we don't see some sort of enchantress creature in the set, something that draws a card when you cast, or uh, when an enchantment enters, um, then yeah, there's probably like 0.0 hope for that kind of thing to be viable in standard. And then we see a few really sweet limited cards like this Provis Warrior. Then Scared Fist is pretty interesting, so it's good to have this as a sideboard option in some sort of cycling deck, or, well, basically niche sideboard card with a cycling on it spells some constructed play to me. New Perspective is something I think that will be one of those crucial pieces for the cycling deck to actually be playable in constructed, and I want this to actually happen. Shepherd is just a limited card, and you're not gonna probably play it in standard. But Perspective is pretty sweet. So even though it's 6 mana, but as long as you have some counter spells, or let's just say that they don't have a combo piece in play yet, so you feel like, okay, you can play this, then well, you draw 3, and then, okay, cycling costs 0. But right now, everything that benefits from the cycling, like that blue enchantment that makes tokens when you cycle, so you have to actually pay mana to make those tokens, so that's kind of a bummer. If there's gonna be a card that actually says something when you just cycle, so you don't have to pay mana, then Perspective will be just like pretty much must-have in that deck. So, well, you have the Sphinx, this creator of mysteries, so you get to scry up lists every time you cycle, and when like your cycles actually cost 0, so you get to scry through a bunch of top decks, so that's sweet. Kind of a decent limited card, I love it. We get Painful Lessons, so it's not scrying 2, you just draw 2 and lose 2, but having a thing like this, even in this form, actually is kind of nice for standard, so it might actually see play. Hazard's Favor. Basically, what I think about this card, it's either going to see a lot of play or not at all. The potential is there, but it's kind of situational, and okay, it lets you to, suicide in a bunch of creatures with buffs and so on. But then again, well, you basically waste your turn 3, and then you like have to cast like some sizable threat that they might just kill, so yeah. But yeah, in commander decks, that's gonna be an insane card, I guess. Center's Deliverance, well, I love this card because it's a hoser, so we get a new hoser. So in the previous set we got the natural ability, so that is pretty sweet. It's so played because it hits also like flagships and marvels and stuff, unlike natural state. And having this with cycling is actually pretty darn good, because you probably don't want to play this in the sideboard of the cycling deck if it didn't actually have cycling on it. So that's pretty relevant and useful. And yeah, I guess how you close out games in the cycling deck, you can cast that ridiculous 7 mana spell, perhaps. Maybe that's just too slow, but then again, you only need to complete that thing. And there are not that many counters right now. Okay, there are some dispels and negates, but that's about it. And if you kind of have some authority with the consoles in play, so they can't combo you off unless they destroy it, then you can just uh, like have time maybe like to cast this and just win the game like that. Plus, when you cast it, you actually get to gain 7 life, so that's pretty cool. Question is like how many copies can you actually play in your deck? So it might be just too cute. Maybe this Drake Heaven is enough for the cycling deck to actually close out games, and it's faster. And yeah, while we have this basically destroy artifact with cycling, but then destroying the enchantments will be actually also relevant because of Drake Haven, I think, because that's probably gonna be a win condition for the cycling control deck. Yeah. Agony, I talked about it, and then this new one red mana guy that we see get his prowess, and it's like 1/2 already at 1, so that's basically Sweet Spear, and then instead of what is it? So instead of haste, you get this ability that you get to put counters, so it's kind of like has Weaver or something. Well, not itself, but uh, your burn spells basically. So your Fury Temper, instead of just dealing 3 to creature, would put 3 -1/1 counters on it. That's basically what it means. So basically, your spells get Weaver, and that's probably pretty nice, especially on a decent one drops. Yeah, like sacrificing haste for this ability is not that bad, of course we would much rather prefer monsters with spears, but well, this is also okay, quite okay. Pretty threatening, I would say. Yeah, can like really help you to clear the path and make them not be able to block effectively. Um, Naga is just a sweet limited card. I like it. So Blower Bound Initiate. Well, I think I love this card. So again, it's a human, so that's a check mark for the red-white humans deck. But then what? Well, if you feel like they can sort of block it effectively, and you don't mind actually tapping it for a turn, I mean freezing it for a turn, then yeah, like attacking with this for 4/4. And then people actually pointed out, so in addition to stuff like Lieutenant that pumps all the humans and stuff like that, you also have Always Watching. And that thing, plus Always Watching, that's just sick. That is just absurd. So now that I think of it, again, red white humans with this guy and the 4/1 guy, and plus all the human synergies like that, that's pretty sick. Essence Scatter is really nice to have around in standard, that's for sure. I don't think it's really gonna help all that much, but it's just like another option, cheap counter for creatures. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna make a huge impact, but control decks are gonna be kind of happy about this. Nasa Scarp's just a cute card, definitely insane in limited, but I think I talked about it previously. So, but this Scavenger, I didn't touch it, so yeah. And okay, it has Exert. It's a 2/2 for 2. That's cool. Is it good enough for Constructed? Probably not, even though it's not like it triggers only from itself, it triggers from any Exert. And then you get to loot. It's a little bit underpowered for Constructed, but I wouldn't be like super surprised if it actually sees place, because for the red god, like you have to empty your hand. But then again, this actually cycles, so it's not like you discard and like get something, you actually draw the card back. So it doesn't help that plan of just emptying your hand. So yeah, not sure. Manglehorn, pretty busted. Probably gonna be in the sideboard of, I don't know, pretty much every green aggressive deck, or maybe like even every non-aggressive green deck. Because yeah, just destroy Heart of Kiran, and all the artifacts come tapped. Well, yeah, that's pretty cool. So they're kind of trying to hose vehicles. I don't think it's super effective, but it's nice. It's nice. Viridian Corruptor, basically. With an upside, even, yeah. So that's pretty. This regular Caracol, cute cats, but no, I don't think it's a constructive card. Definitely good for limited. What else was new? Magma Spray is huge. That is huge. For standards, basically. Just exiling Scrap Heap Scroungers, that's already makes it a pretty sick reprint for standard. What else is interesting? Talked about Mind Sensor. Free to flash for free in green, that's pretty cute. That's rather sweet. What else was new? Let us scroll down a bit. Not much that actually matters, so that's a good part. Just a bunch of fillers. So I believe this zombie red just says when it comes in, discard a card. Yeah, it helps some synergies in like black-red, but that's just a limited card for sure. Nothing much else, it seems. That's new. Well, some multicolor cards and some split cards actually. Launch of Flux. Well, I think the card is a bit too slow. It's definitely like a bunch of those multicolored cards. There's obviously second commander. Pretty sweet and limited too. So yeah, we'll have to see. Some people think that it might enable a lot of interesting ramp control-ish decks, but I think it's just too slow. If you tap out for this on turn 4, I don't know, you have to have a really good reason, or have to have a very interactive deck in order to do that. Basically what it does is that turn by turn, so you either draw a card or just get free mana, which is like of course cool, but yeah, it's a strange one. Patra, well, let's just compare it with Constrictor or Green Flare for a second. Well, when it deals combat damage to a player, you may put a 1/1 counter on target creature. That's a pretty powerful effect, I guess. But then again, it's just a 2/2, so yeah. And then when you put counters on the creature, you get a 1/1 Death Toucher. So yeah, you have to get through with this thing, but then again, Black-Green is famous for just, well, the Rich Color, Constrictor, Ballista, Gearhulk synergies. So yeah, I guess that's something that Black-Green might have been missing currently, to actually put the deck back onto the standard trader, just to be able to fight good curve outs from Mardu and from 4 colors of healing. Yeah. It's a legendary though, so there is that. But yeah, I think it will do some impact. It will definitely generate some waves in standard. Fail or Comply. I love this card, so I'm not sure if it's a main deck card because of the Meddling Mage type of effect, but it's pretty sick. Yeah, it is pretty sick. Is it gonna help Jeskai heal it to be once again a good control deck? I don't know, there is a chance. There is a chance of that, because, well, the Comply just costs 1. So yeah, if it Comply would have cost 2, then probably this wouldn't be a card. But otherwise, that's pretty sick. Cut Ribbons is definitely sick too, so definitely gonna be stable in a lot of that. It's good that the black half of it actually says to lose lives, so you can't actually redirect that to Planeswalkers. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can't. But still, it's a 4 damage to a creature for 2, even though at sorcery speed, but that's still pretty good, because you kind of have a decent flashback on that thing. Yeah. Probably just a very flexible sideboard card for Mardu, at the very least. Which is still like a lot to say. So Rags, well, minus to 2 doesn't actually help all that much. And then the other half, well, just creatures she controls, you gain control of those creatures. Each opponent chooses a creature here, so you get 1 guy back. One guy from them. No, I think it's just a commander card. I don't see this, because like 5 mana flashback is just too much. Too much. This insult injury, well, that's some busted cards, so I'm really scared of what it can do in standard. Right now it's not super clear, but you can probably think of a bunch of scenarios. I would just say that the card is legit, and it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be scary. Both halves of it are actually quite useful. Fate, well, I do love this card, that's for sure, so kind of makes some, gives you some restrictions for deck building, but yeah, I love it. Dusk Dawn, ridiculous for modern Soul Sisters. It's gonna be busted there with the Martyr set and the Proclamation of Rebirth and all that stuff. But if you think of standard, well, just think of red, white, or Mardu vehicles with a bunch of 1-drops, and then think of like what this does for that deck. So you kill all the big stuff. Your stuff on your turn is actually small, and then with Dawn you get to rebuy all that stuff. So that actually make me feel like with Mardu or red white, you now might just, instead of siding out all your small drops, with this card in the format, you actually might keep them all in the deck. Because now you have a thing that actually drafts, it's kind of like one-sided draft a lot of the time, and then you get all that stuff back. So that changes the dynamic in terms of sideboarding quite a lot, I think. I want to see like how that turns out. Prepare Fire is pretty sick. I talked about it. What else is new? Um, Thrones, I think, is a new thing that I haven't touched on yet. Or no, no, I did. Um, I mean, monuments. Yeah, I talked about monuments in the previous video. You can find it on the channel, so um, check it out in the tab for podcasts playlist. Yeah, Throne is pretty sick. Just think about you're an aggro deck with a bunch of good 1 and 2 drops, and then you play this, and at the if they don't draft the board, if you still have a bunch of stuff, they basically lose 1 life for each like creature you have, because you're gonna go bashing. So that's a pretty scary card. I think Mardu would want it for sure, and then some sort of like, well, almost any deck that goes wide and goes like a bunch of 1s and 2 drops and stuff like that, or a bunch of tokens, they're gonna love this card. That's pretty crazy just cause 2. So yeah, that's pretty sick. And it's good that they lose love, so you can't, like, again, I think, kill planeswalkers with it, because otherwise that's gonna be too unfair, I think. But yeah, I love this card. And watch yourself do that. If it will be like a Fear Macabre, like you just choose 2 target cards that they remove, well, exile from play, that will be better. But this one, because they get to actually choose what to keep, so that's kind of poopy. If you get to choose what they keep, then this will actually be a relevant card, because there are quite a few graveyard synergies and also the Embalm. So yeah, even if you think of limited, I just kind of don't like the. I like the kind of the design, but I don't like the actual effect, the actual text on it. I think that's roughly it. So thank you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, leave any feedback in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. Until the next video, goodbye, folks.